about the golf course and what was that mission was going to be like, and all of that.
Well, the first time we went on the golf course was in October of '69. Phil was 1-0, I was 1-1, and Tom Loyce was 1-2, the radio man. And we were on the edge of a slight hill. And I don't know why the golf course was formed, because it was just in a very abrupt end of the wood line into an open expanse that was perhaps half a mile across, if not a little bit more, and maybe a mile and a quarter from north to south long. And surprisingly, the trail ran right down the middle of it, just about. To the north, there were two ponds that the trail ran between. We were in the middle on the west side, and it was configured in such a way that the hill came up out of the trees and peaked maybe 10 or 15 feet above our heads, so we could not see the trail directly in front of us. So we had to put lookouts, one to the north and a second set to the south, so we could watch both ends of the trail. You just could not see both ends of the trail from one spot. I was on the north side with a mountain yard. I can't remember which one. When I saw coming out of the wood line an individual, I scooted back around, informed Phil that we had one guy coming down. So we came out into the open on the opposite side of the hill from where he was approaching. He passed our position, and I was constantly looking back to the north to make sure that no one was coming up on us. I thought, quite frankly, we were just going to walk up on the guy from behind, point our weapons and say, "Hey, choo-hoy, that's it, kiddo." Phil tried to shoot the guy in the leg. And it's unfortunate in that even over there, we were not cognizant that when we went out on the range, we were still playing Army as if we were fighting in Europe and shooting from 150, 200 yards away. And so our sights were elevated to the point where you had an arc in the bullet, so that if you were shooting at somebody within 30 feet, your bullet would land that much higher than where you were aiming, because it was still on its trajectory upwards to get out to 200 yards. He didn't hit the guy in the leg. He hit him in the lower bowel, and it killed him. I still remember running up on the guy as he was dying, groping through his pockets, and then feeling his bowels in my hand. It was unfortunate. It was unnecessary. He did have a .45 caliber pistol on him, so he could have killed somebody. But we just hadn't worked it out right as to how we were going to approach somebody who approached that on that trail. He was stripped down. Turned out he was mountain yard, and he had a number of communiques. He was a messenger, I guess, a courier. And so Phil flew down to Saigon, and gave a report with all of that. I have no idea what information he carried on him, but it was an unfortunate death. He would have been so much more valuable to have been captured alive. But again, it's small things. The very fact that he tried to shoot him in the leg and the arc of that bullet dictated that it hit him in the lower back instead. Uh, Things you just don't think about until they happen. Yeah, that's Phil and me with all of his material.
And I'm about to bring up, you had mentioned, I believe he had a USMC 45.
Yeah,
I think that's what you said, but also I believe you guys found this, that John Stryker Meyer always talks about the medal of they get for killing a Vietnamese, and I forgot what exactly it means, but uh, didn't y'all find this medal as well on him, that he had killed an American?
that I do not recall. I know we used to call them a Brave Killer of Americans Award, but if if Phil took the pistol, which was his right as 1-0, but unfortunately it was captured armament, and the military would not let him bring it home. So he
Uh,
had to surrender that to the back to the United States Army. He was pretty well beaten up. I do not recall that medal on this individual. Uh, that was
right here, I just found it. Let me take that off. Sorry, I didn't realize I still had that up and we were split screen. But according to Mr. Phil, the medal that was just on screen, the inscription we just saw said, "Sacrifice, emulate, determined to fight, execute all Americans." So evidently, y'all had come across a pretty hardcore individual that day, and like you said, y'all could have might could have gotten some damn good information out of him.
yeah. It's uh, it's unfortunate, and it's very strange for a mountain yard.
I was fixing to say, could you speak a little bit about that? I mean, I know they use them as forced labor, but I mean, to have him actually in uniform leading as a Montagnard, that's very strange.
Yes, and I have no clue about what that was all about. I mean, about 2 or 3 miles to the northwest of the golf course is what they call Dollar Lake, which was basically a volcanic blowhole from sometime in the indeterminable past. But there was supposed to be an NVA officers R&R camp there on Dollar Lake. And I'm surprised you're pulling these pictures up. That's amazing. Uh, and he may very well have come from there, but I have no explanation as to why a Montagnard would be associated with the North Vietnamese. You see, the Montagnards were the original Malayo-Polynesian people who owned all of Vietnam. Vietnamese are nothing but displaced Chinese from 1,000 years ago who migrated down the coast and eventually took over the coastlines. And they forced the Montagnards back into the mountains, Banar, Jurang, and all of the other tribes. And they literally considered the Montagnard peoples to be subhuman.
Oh yeah.
They were heavily discriminated against and literally called Moi, savages. So why in the world? I mean, I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend, I guess, type of situation. And that
That's
somehow, if this guy was against the Americans, the North Vietnamese accepted him.
yeah, and evidently he was against them because what y'all found in that medal seemed to point he was pretty hard charger.
Well, if that picture was from Phil, that's something that I had forgotten totally about. I ended up with the rucksack, which was an NVA rucksack. I ended up giving that to a friend of mine.
I'm
Uh,
gonna show off a few of those photos of you and the guys.
yeah, yeah,
There's one. There
we
was a good
ended up
one.
throwing that stuff off, but I mean, it was a shameful.
Hi, can I bring my friend to work out?